it works out pretty well. So yeah, just stand by for a minute or two, and I'll be right back. It's K0DWC.
And good morning, Chuck, W6MQI.
Good morning, Dave. You're sounding good on the TCS this morning. I've heard everybody so far, even Bill. Ron's pounding in here. Bob is really pounding in here. You're pounding in. Mike's pounding in. And Bill's almost Q5.
Yeah, Bob is just, you gotta love it when the conditions are perfect. I've heard Bob louder than I think I've ever heard him before.
Yeah, you know, Bob has got that uncanny ability to, I don't know, at least at this QTH anyway, to cut right through that stuff like a hot knife through butter. You know, even when his signal seems relatively weak, I can still understand what he's saying. You know, I don't know how he does it. I don't know how these big time hams do that.
They're part of that secret club that we're not a part of yet.
Yeah, I'm only 66, so I guess you could call me junior.
Not right behind you. 60, almost 65.
Yeah, I'm only
65 in February.
Is that a retirement age?
Nah, my actual retirement age is 66 and 10 months.
Yeah, I think that's what mine would have been too, but I decided to go ahead and retire at 62.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, I had to put a kid through college, so that's why I'm working.
Oh no, I definitely understand that. I probably would have waited a little bit longer myself, but you know, I got hurt years ago working, and the doctor told me, he said, you can only work part-time, not full-time. So I just worked part-time here and there, and then I decided to, you know what, if I can't work full-time, I don't want to work at all.
What was your line of work? I don't know if I ever asked you.
Well, my original forte, so to speak, was I was a journeyman machinist, and I apprenticed in Salt Lake City back in the 70s, and went back east for 6 years in the 90s, and worked for a NASCAR team and as a machinist, and did a little bit of everything, including research and development on cylinder heads and stuff like that. And I got a call from a guy out here while I was still working back there, and he said he needed my help real bad back at the same location where I was working at, that I apprenticed at. So I moved back out here to help them out for a year, and then I thought, well, you know, I'm gonna move a little further west. I'm gonna go to the Reno area. So here I am. But I originally, when I got back, I worked for Story County School District, and I got hurt on the job, and couldn't work full time anymore. I was out of work for about 3 years, 3.5 years, with a disability on my leg. It still bothers me, but anyway, after that it was part time, and I'm like, yeah, this is a bunch of BS. So I'm just going to retire when I hit 62. So I did. So anyway, going on 5 years in 2024. So that's the story of my life. Pretty simple.
Well, okay, all right. Yeah, a couple weeks ago I mentioned I was actually trained as a machinist, but I just couldn't get myself to stand in front of a machine, you know, and smelling that burnt oil. I ended up going a different route. But yeah, well, cool. Yeah, it would have been nice if I could have retired earlier, but just wasn't in the cards. It's fine. I'm all good. But another year or so, and I'll be able to do something.
Yeah, Mike, Dave, yeah, I definitely understand that. You got to put your daughter through college. It takes a lot of dough, and definitely understand that. So congratulations on that. That was great that you were able to accomplish that. My kids, both of my kids are professionals too, but one's a nurse practitioner, and she lives back east, and the other one lives back east too. She got a degree in business administration. So, but you know, I wasn't able to help out much at the time. They had enough wherewithal to work themselves through as best they could, and they did it. So it's to more their credit than mine.
I remember when Chuck was working, and he sometimes didn't make it home in time for the net, and Carl ran the net.
If I was smart, I'd still let her run the net. Who is that?
Okay, Chuck. Well, who's running the net this morning? I'm patiently waiting over here on the other side.
Okay, Bob. No problem, my friend. Okay, guys. Well, I guess we could get the net started. There's 6 of us, so we'll go ahead and do it. Well, good morning to all. Ron, Bob, Dave, Bill, and Mike. This is the Vintage Military Radio Net. This is Chuck. We're operating on 3.974 megacycles. And everybody knows the spiel here, so we'll forego that and go ahead and get right down to it. So let me give a rundown as I have it. I've been listening, so I've heard you guys. So the order in which I heard everybody is in the number 1 spot is Ron in U6F. Good morning, Ron. In the number 2 spot is Mr. Bob, W6AQU. Good morning, Bob. In the 3 spot is Dave, W6MQI. Good morning, Dave. In the 4th spot is Bill, N6BCT. Good morning, Bill. And in the 5th spot is Mike, W7MS. So that's who I've heard so far. So is there anyone else that would like to check in just a few minutes early before we start? And be number 6, come now.
W6SSP.
Oh, there's Steve, W6SSP. Good morning, Steve. You got a good signal into Dayton this morning as well. Real nice signal. Okay, is there anyone else that would like to check in? And be number 7 for the first go around here on the Vintage Military Radio Net. Come now. Okay, nothing heard. So, okay, well, let me give the rundown here. Let me give the rundown here real quick. I'll give you the call signs. NU6F, number 1. W6AQU, number 2. W6MQI, number 3. N6BCT, number 4. W7MS, number 5. And W6SSP, number 6. Last call for first round. If you want to check in now, I'll catch you at the end of the first round. Be number 7, come now.
WA7 YBS.
All right, good morning, Henry. I got you down in the number 7 spot, sir. All righty. Okay, anybody else want to check in? Be number 8, come now. Okay, nothing heard. All right. Well, good morning to all again, and we're on the on my ART-13 again this morning, speaking through a T32 microphone with an electret module, and I've got this bad boy hooked up to the brute power supply, so I'm running about 200 watts interior power, and through the remote, and it's all going through a inverter D, and we're listening on the RBD receiver, and I am on headphones. So that's the rundown here. So with that, we'll go ahead and start first round, and we'll go up to number 1 and U6F in the group, Ron. It's all yours. You're sounding good this morning.
Okay, good deal, guys. And good copy on all my
My bogey interference that parks right around this frequency is gone this morning, so everybody is in the clear and sounding great. I'm on the TDE with the amp only because the 20 watts AM doesn't cut it, so we're at 100 watts. 100 watt carrier and listening on the RAL5 RCA contract, December 1939. Was anybody around at that time? Not quite. Anyhow, well, mic is a T17 carbon mic in glorious high fidelity. All things are going good. Got the TD MG set back together with a new keyway slot that Sparks electric motor machined out a new keyway slot on the motor for free. Holy cow. I went to pay for it. He said, well, I'm sorry I'm late, Ron, so it's for free. Well, late was only a week, so that wasn't that late to me. So I'm a happy camper for now. Okay, the other happy camper, up by Montague. Take it away, Bob, W6AQU. And what fire-burning Dragon radio have you got on the air with the huge signal in U6F?
Okay, Ron. And U6F and Sunday morning military net. This is W6 Able Queen Uncle. I'm kind of cheating this morning. I'm running a 7300 into a single 3500C, 200 watts out the door. So anyhow, too cold to go outside. Maybe later on. This last week it's been cold, but this morning's warmed up to 30. So imagine that those guys up there, Reno's got it a little, and Dayton's got a little cooler than that. So I didn't get all this stuff about the ages and the birthday or retirements or all that. I think I've been retired for over 30 years. But I started earlier. I started in 1934. Anyhow. Yeah, Chuck, I remember when you were... I had to drive home every morning, and sometimes you made it in time when you were working at Interstate there, I guess at the airport. Had to come home the back roads, or I guess you call it the short route. Okay, down there to Livermore. W6QI. It's a W6 Able Queen Uncle.
W6AQU, W6MQI. Interesting the way you say Livermore. I don't blame you. All right, good morning, guys. This is Dave in Livermore. And everybody's sounding good this morning. And, well, I guess I'm the young one on the net, still wet behind the ears. I'm only 64, so a couple more years for me before I get to join the elite club of the retirees. And today we're on the TCS setup, and I think maybe I got a bad capacitor in the receiver. Boy, it's sounding snap, crackle, pop. It almost sounds like somebody dragging the antenna connector along the ground or something. That's new. It's always something, huh? Always something with these old rigs. And what else did I say? Oh, about 41 degrees here. Crystal clear out, no wind. Everything's good. So with that, we'll send her over to Bill. N6BCT, W6MQI.
I don't know what the temperature is exactly, but I'm working on my TV or things like that. I picked up when I turned it down, and I haven't got much else to say. I'm working up TVs and getting my thing out at this bedroom TV. And so I told her to 77NF and all that down.
Well, thank you, Bill. N6BCT, W7MS, Mike and Reno. We're hearing you, Bill. Good morning to you, as well as we're hearing AQU with the T-shirt 3500Z amplifier. Good morning to you, Bob. You old timer. You win the contest. And hello, Dave. We've got your physical age now. Congratulations. You passed that on. And good morning to Ron. And Ron was so excited about his transaction at the motor shop, he sent me a text earlier this week, and I replied to him that was the old Reno way of doing business, which is largely gone. So congratulations to Ron. This morning running the GP7 and having some frequency counter issues, so I think I'm 0 beat on Bob's signal as I drift down in frequency as the 803 heats up. You gotta love MOPAs. There was a reason for adding a buffer stage between the oscillator and the PA, but they didn't know that in the early 1930s. So that's the setup, about 50 watts out, T17, official carbon microphone, and in the meantime, I'm going to do some jumper reconfiguration, so maybe I can have a frequency counter on this puppy. So with that, I think I'm at the tail end here, Chuck. If not, my apologies, but it goes to whoever they know it goes to, W7MS.
Okay, Mike, I think that's me. W7MS, W6SSP. Good morning, everybody. Good signals all around. Bill, good copy. And Henry, I've got a comment on your audio, broadcast quality audio. Mike, GP7 sounds great, as does everybody else. Anyway, this is Steve, just north of Santa Rosa. We're the usual Collins 32V1 transmitter with a whopping 85 watts out and the 7501 receiver. I think I got that right. Anyway, into a resonant dipole about 30 feet up, D107 microphone. Reading the mail a little bit before the lot from Chuck, I didn't realize that you had such a varied career. Pretty interesting that you were working for NASCAR and an expert on head technology and stuff like that, automotive heads that is, and pretty interesting stuff. And Dave, 64 years old, yeah man, you're what behind the ears? Not really. I think we're all well up there in age. So, well, enough for me. Let's send it over to Henry, WA7YBS, W6SSP.
Okay. Stand by just a sec. Okay. And very good. Well, good morning to all. Ron, Bob, Dave and Bill, Mike, and Steve and Chuck. This is Henry in Dayton, who is still tweaking and peeking. That's right. Yeah. We try to squeeze every watt we can out of this transmitter. This is a 1625 rig, W6MIT's home group, and of course there's a pair of 1625s in parallel for the PA and a pair of 1625s in push-pull for the audio. And you would think with the way this sounds that it's got some really fancy audio stuff in it, but it doesn't. It's just a dual triode speech amp and then a driver tube, and that's it. Nothing fancy. And of course it's a T368 exciter for the RF portion of it, and built into the ugliest case that John could find. And I don't know what it was, but it certainly was ugly. And of course it has a roll-around cart, so I don't need a table for it. The receiver is the Collins 51J4, the light gray smooth finish front panel type that were used at Collins. And this one is a pretty good receiver. And the thing that's, as far as 51J4s go anyway, and the key to it is the no 6KC mechanical filter. Collins installed their own sort of an LC filter in for the 6KC position, which gives you a lot wider bandwidth. Well, not a whole lot, but wider than the 6KC mechanical filter. Probably about 8KC or so, maybe 9, maybe 10. But anyway, it's better. And the antenna, standby. Cough switch. Anyway, the antenna is a collinear array, and so that's a rundown. Let's see, it was 20 degrees this morning, so yeah, a little on the cool side. It's mostly clear, just a few light clouds here and there, so that's the rundown. Let's get it back to Chuck. K0DWC, WA7YBS.
Okay, Henry. All right, well, no problem with anybody, even Bill. Everybody's just coming in very well this morning so far. So conditions seem good. I just hope they hold on for the rest of the net. So anyway, okay, let's see if there's anybody else that wants to check in and be on the tail end of the first round and be number 8. Come now. Okay, nothing heard. So anyway, let's see. Yeah, Steve, I'm no cylinder head expert by any sense of the word. You tend to get a lot of training with that as you go, but we're talking over 30 years ago, and the technology in that sport has changed dramatically, and it's nothing like it was when I was in it. And back then, boss man would come up and say, we need this and we need that on the cylinder head. We'd do it. Take the thing back, put it on the flow bench, check them out on the flow bench, and they'd find another discrepancy or something. They'd bring it back up, and we'd do it again. Not just me, but a couple other guys as well. So, but that wasn't all we did. I did a lot of work for a lot of teams too. A lot of big Winston Cup teams at the time. They're just Cup Series now, but that was a pretty good short career for me. I really enjoyed it. I grew up around that stuff anyway, because I'm from back east originally. And I did that Monday through Friday, and then we were on call for the weekend for in case there was, they needed something like at Charlotte Motor Speedway, for the race that weekend for Memorial Day. We'd have to work the weekend, but very interesting work. I loved it. It became natural to me. So, as a matter of fact, my old boss, the guy that ran the team, I worked in Ard, North Carolina. It was Precision Products Performance Racing, which was home of the Skull Bandit, Harry Gant. And we did most all their work and work for other teams too. So I was a lucky man. I got to see the legends of the sport walk in. So it was pretty amazing. But anyway, okay, let's see here. Let's go ahead and we will start the second round and get going with that. So back up to the top to Ron. NU6F. Ron, congratulations on getting that TDE deal working there. That's good. You're sounding great. I can hear it in the background. So, NU6F, go ahead. Okay, good deal, guys. Nice hearing everybody in the clear for a change without having to fight that interference. I shouldn't keep mentioning that because it's bound to show up, but at any rate, while yeah, everyone talking about what vintage they are, I actually forgot until you guys were talking. Dave, 64 today is 74 for NU6F. So put a candle on my microphone, and yeah, once we get one more new piece, we will be back guaranteed for 100,000 miles. But there's nobody doing free work on joint replacements like they are for free machine work. And yeah, let's see. And Bob, yeah, here it is. I'm thinking the RAL is older than anybody here. And shoot, this thing, RCA Sarnoff hadn't even punched holes in the chassis on this 1939 RAL when you were born. So yeah, as a young whippersnapper, you could have been listening to this thing when you were just starting school. And yeah, I was hoping Tom OPE would be here. I have, along the lines of machine work, which is mostly what I'm involved in with this radio. I think I told you when Lucky Larry picked up a 1952 M37 Power Wagon, and we've been working on that off and on, and I think we're going to have the maiden fire up on that Flathead 6, and actually, yeah, Chuck could have been of some great assistance. It's actually an L-head, which I'd never really heard the term before. It made sense once I heard the term, because trying to find top dead center, no timing marks on the crankshaft pulley. Somebody at the motor pool had replaced it and never put any timing marks. So, and I figured no big deal. Well, we'll look down the plug hole and then turn it over by hand and look for and then find when we hit top dead center on the piston on the compression, and look down there, can't see the piston. Right, the plug hole is looking out at space in the combustion chamber between the valves and the piston. So anyhow, came up with another approach. Wasn't my own idea, but when I read someone saying something about it, hey, that makes sense. So put a vacuum gauge, combination vacuum pressure gauge and an adapter on the plug hole, turned it over by hand slowly. Sure enough, came up on compression number 1, a little firewall rotating as she's coming back down with the valve still closed. Why, boom, there's a little section of negative pressure. Back up a little bit, so we think we got it timed pretty good. We're either going to go ahead and get the thing to run or catch Lucky Larry's garage on fire. Well, anyhow, the other thing, I was wondering who else has ever been to that Plymouth military vehicle show / swap meet, because we were thinking that would be the place to maybe get a few missing odds and ends parts for his truck. Maybe, I'm sure a couple of you other guys have been there, so let me know what it's like. Okay, with that, over to Dave in Livermore, W6MQI, NU6F.
Go ahead, Bob.
I'll try it. Thanks, Dave. NU6F. Well, that's interesting on the engine. It's not a Hemi, but by golly. Well, we're reminiscing here, Chuck. Remember TC? In one of the early shootouts, That was for the heaviest. I still remember that day. OPE got shut out on that because the weight to add up to the transmitter was included the trailer with the propane and the generator that supplied the power to that. Imagine Henry's getting a chuckle over that. Golly. Well, backing up here to about 2 minutes before 7, I think I heard SST tuning up loud and clear. So for the record, he was actually first on here this morning, I think. Let's see. I'm hearing the hills of Half Moon Bay pretty darn strong this morning there, Bill. I don't know what you're doing there with your low power, but it's working this morning. And MS, I like that carbon mic. It sounds pretty good this morning. As long as I don't turn the BFO on, huh? All right. Henry, thank you for the card. I guess I forgot to mention that last week, but it arrived, and I was going to put it in with the original one that I got. How many years ago was that on the shootout thing? And I couldn't find that card. One of these days I will. All right. Now it goes over to MQI. W6MQI. W6 Able, Queen Uncle.
All right, W6 AQU, W6MQI. All righty. Yeah. Rob, when you mentioned about the compression test, that's the first thing I thought of too. Put a compression meter on there and watch it do its thing. Otherwise, maybe get one of those. I think Milwaukee. Well, a lot of those different companies make them those little cameras that you can stick down a hole. You can look and see the piston that way, and maybe look the other way and see the valves and stuff. Not the other way, but the compression test. That's the way to go. So good job on that. And I've never been to the Plymouth. Always wanted to, but haven't done it yet. One of these days. And congratulations, Ron, to making it to 74. I'm still wondering, what age do you become an old fart? What age is that? I keep telling my wife she's real close to becoming an old bag, but that's mean. She hits me every time I say that. I deserve it. But let's see. Yeah, everybody sounded really good. Henry, you're full quieting here, and then I think Bob is next. But everybody sounds good. So, Henry, I ended up finding another schematic for my NC100 101 or 101 XA. Found it on Bama, and I overlooked it somehow. And this particular schematic seems to fit my radio real well. All the resistor values are matching up pretty close, and the wiring is matching up pretty close. So I think I found a schematic that I can work off of. So that's good. And still working on my antennas here on my inverted L for 160 meters. I've been working on a remote antenna tuner using a vacuum variable with a motor drive on it. Just about done with it. I also had to put up another support near the section of the yard, 30-foot pole, that I could connect the other end of the inverted L to. I got that up yesterday. So now I just need to throw the wire over a tree to get to that support. That's going to be fun. That's always an event. It's always getting tangled up on something. So what's our next shootout going to be? Green radios, TCS, radio by weight. I don't know if you guys thought about that or not. So with that, I guess I'll send it over to Bill. And so let's see, kind of rambling here today. N6BCT, WS6MQI.
well, thanks, Bill. And 6 BCT in the Sunday morning military net, W7MS. Well, I'm a little bit more coordinated here, and I'll explain what I did. I was played with this yesterday, and I connected the frequency counter to the CFI output, and appeared to drive the frequency counter properly, but this morning it was not. And on this GP7, I think having some accurate frequency monitoring is extremely accurate. And speaking about top dead center, Ron and Chuck, top dead center with this frequency control, I think a fraction of a degree moves it to like the 40-meter amateur band. It needs some gear reduction, but that's only a joke. But you got to know where you are, because you may not know where you are. But great comments on all. Bad switches on Drake amplifier, or actually bad interim switches on on the Drake amplifier. Heard that Dave's comments on that. Well, better to sacrifice that People's Republic of China power strip, I guess, than the power switch on the L4. But I hate to say it, I've got several replacements stocked in the back garage for that amplifier. So, but then again, there's still the pain of actually replacing the guy. So we understand those comments. Congratulations, Ron, on divulging his age. I'll be 70 here in about 2 weeks, so I'm just a kid. But it's probably the first decade turnover that's actually affected me to some degree. And I think some of that's due to media stereotypes that you're supposed to be doddering and drooling out the side of your mouth. And at least to this point, on this Sunday, that's not the case. But on the GP7 front, did a little research on some of the artifacts, and discovered that I could add a little extra filtering to the low B plus supply. Reduced some 800 hertz artifacts, and so I think my peak amplitude here is I'm running 1% positive and negative for noise. It's 45 dB down from carrier. But the interesting observation on the spectrum analyzer was I have artifacts at 400 hertz, which is, of course, the frequency of the power supply, and 800 hertz, which is ripple coming from the plate supply. So actually, I'm running a two-tone artifact here, and they're both 45 down. I didn't plan it that way, but I've got a two-tone test set here, at least to some degree. So that was an interesting phenomenon when I saw that on the spectrum analyzer looking at my carrier. But on the plus side, for a military rig, this guy matches 50 ohms directly and has excellent harmonic suppression, which, as we all know on a lot of these mill radios, harmonic suppression, what harmonic suppression, but it looks really official in that sense. And yes, Bob, don't try to observe me it's in the CW mode. You just have to follow me down in frequency. But enough of that, and my apologies to Steve and Henry, but I think I was fumbling trying to figure out how to reconfigure things so I could see my carrier on a appropriate monitoring device here. So over to you, Steve. W6SSP, W7MS.
Okay, Mike, very good. Yeah, well, let me check the dials here. Yeah, it's okay. I get kind of lazy and I don't even really tune the transmitter. It just seems to hold its alignment pretty good. I don't even check it much anymore. Anyway, Mike, the GP7 sounds good. No sound on the back, so I can hear it anyway. It might show up on CW, who knows. And Chuck and some of the other guys talking about engines and stuff. Yeah, boy, I'll tell you, that's been an interest to me from a very, very young age. My dad when I flew in with them. They always gave me a choice at the end of the week of whether I get a week or 11 stop off at the dump on the way home from his job. And I pick up either a TV chassis or something like that for parts to make transmitters out of, and receivers too sometimes. And one time I did something really good. I don't even remember what it was. And on the way home, he brought me a 327 V8 that was trashed. I think it was about 10 or 12 at the time, and we rebuilt it together, all by hand. All the machining was done by hand, and hand grinding the valves and stuff like that. I'll tell you, that experience paid off dividends in the many tens of thousands of dollars over the years. Knowing just a little bit early on really pays off later on in life, and still enjoy playing with engines, as you guys know. And Chuck, yeah, one of these days we should sit down together over a couple of beers and talk about racing experience. I only did it for about 3 years, but and not professionally, but boy, that was a heck of a lot of fun. Really, really enjoyed doing that. And I wanted to mention, I heard from Jason this week, got an email from him. It's N6NMC, which I know some of you guys know, not all of you. He's back in Georgia, and he's been digging into an RBC receiver. He said he started it about a year ago and put it aside, and he's gotten back to it, can't remember how to put it back together. I think we've all done that before, so he's kind of cursing that thing right now. As far as projects go here, I haven't really had a chance to do anything. It's been helping an elderly neighbor get ready for winter, and then getting ready for winter myself, and kind of cutting dead branches and cleaning leaves and stuff like that. So haven't even turned on the radio this week. This is the first time since last Sunday. So, Henry, I got a comment on your 1625 rig. I would say it actually sounds better than the big rig. Audio sounds better. It's just not a professional opinion, just just what I'm hearing. Anyway, over to you. WA7YBS, W6SSP.
Okay, Steve, W6SSP, WA7YBS, and well, you know, the big rig, any audio critique on that has to involve that Bogan that I use, the Bogan CT100C PA amplifier. So, this is all, as far as the 1625 rig, I'm trying to remember what the tubes are, but it's a dual triode speech, input amplifier, and then the driver. Oh God, I can't remember what it is. It's something like a 12BH7 or something like that, although I don't think that's what it is. But anyway, it's very simple. John, when he originally designed this transmitter, had a clipper circuit and some very fancy stuff, and that got taken out. This transmitter was originally built in 1997, and I don't know how long that clipper circuit lasted in there, but it's gone now, and I didn't take it out, so I know John did. And so anyway, it's very simple. I was just amazed at how simple it is, just straightforward, and I don't know how, really, in looking at it, he achieves the audio, except in the coupling capacitors and the cathode bypasses, I guess. So anyway, thanks for the comments. Okay. Behemoth Military Radio Trials was that was a June 2014 that we held that event there, and that was to operate the heaviest transmitter that you could, and we rated the how much the weight was, and then the watts per pound. And so anyway, that we did do that, and we're going to do the Behemoth Military Radio Trials again probably next year. I have my card here, and I was running my GRC 19, which when you included the Jeep mount, and, all of the stuff that went with it, it was 325 pounds. And with 130 watts output, that was 0.4 watts per pound. But I didn't win. I was, my gross weight ranking was number 7. So, as a point of interest, the total weight for all of the check-ins in the Behemoth military radio trials was 13,205 pounds. So we had a lot of weight there. And okay, this is going to be the next military trial. It doesn't have to be military, but this is going to be a new one, and we're shooting for January 24. So it's 2.5 months from now, or so, maybe a little bit more. But anyway, it gives you plenty of time to get something together. And this one is going to be called the Airborne Radio Dogfight. You can run anything that is an airborne radio transmitter, receiver, the whole package for aircraft. It has to have been on an airplane. Doesn't have to be World War II. It can be Korean War. It can be civilian. It doesn't matter as long as it was an airborne radio. And so we're still working on exactly what the parameters are going to be, but that's the basic idea. It's going to be called the Airborne Radio Dogfight, and we're going to have that in January. Looks like we had a power glitch there. That was our power doing that. So anyway, we're going to have the Airborne Radio Dogfight. Looking, still looks like I'm putting out signal. And it'll be in January coming up, first part of 2024. And Dave, I was going to tell you, and it slipped my mind to send you an email. All of the schematics that I have one original manual. I have 2 original manuals. I have a manual for an NC100 ASD, which was the Signal Corps version, and then I have the original manual for an NC100, the old 1936 original model. All of the other schematics and manuals that I have are copies that I've gotten off of BAMA. So that's the information I had was also what was available on BAMA. So you're there. And that's good. And they're pretty straightforward, easy receivers to work on, sort of. But when the hamsters get in there, you never know what you're going to find. So, anyway, let's get it back to Chuck, K0DWC WA7YBS.
They lost power.
A lot of times when we get a power glitch over here, Chuck goes down. So let's go ahead and we'll hope that the power comes back on at Chuck's place there. He's about 2.5 miles away, but he's across the highway, Highway 50 East, and he's on a different grid or a different leg of the power lines or something than we are. And so his is a lot more sensitive to the power outages, and it's usually, that's involved. But let's make one more quick break and see if Chuck is there, and then if not, we'll pick it up with Ron. Chuck, did you come back? Okay, I guess he's down for the count. Let's see. Let's go ahead and we'll do one more, and then we'll do a short 73 rounds. So, Ron, NU6F, go ahead. This is WA7YBS.
Okay, another little pause there. Chuck, one more chance. Okay, guess not. All right, Henry and Chuck. yeah, I guess you can go ahead and look out in the garage and find the Honda generator and run a cord into the shack. But yeah, that's one thing. Knock on wood, NV Energy is pretty good for power here in this neck of the woods. Where I was up there out of Gold Run, yeah, every winter I would have at least 3 days in a row, sometimes 2 weeks in a row, no power. And so those days, why, yeah, when I sold the place, I sold the generator with it. I figured, now I'm going into civilization now when I move to Reno. They've got a modern grid, and it's mostly all underground. Well, let's see. Okay on all, Bob, okay on being in the house with the 3-500, warming you up rather than going out in the shop where the rest of the radios are. And Bill, okay on being the old-timer at 1932. Okay, so yeah, like you said, you were 7 years old when this radio was made, when the RAL. And Mike, good deal on your two-tone your two-tone test in the background. And you know, that was the thing on that the PRC 47. Working on that was that darn line from the DC to DC converter to keep that off the CW signal, and I had an 800 and a 1600 hertz spurs off to the side of that, and since the way they generated the CW was to put a 1,000 cycle tone in and use that for carrier generation, but oh well. Anyhow, so but yeah, that is pretty cool. You know, and I missed what radio that was. You mentioned it. It sounded like you said TC7, DC7, something C7. So let me know what the heck it actually was, so I can Google it and look at a picture of it. I've probably seen it there in your shack, but I don't recognize them all. And okay, Steve, on Jason, I was wondering if I hadn't heard how he's doing. So okay, back there in almost in Chuck's old neck of the woods. And Henry, yeah, the heaviest radio contest. I was thinking, I don't know. I think I have a chance of pulling off at least an honorable mention, because yeah, at 130 watts for 690 pounds on the TDE, I am at 0.185 watts per pound. So we'll see, but there could be a higher ratio out there somewhere. And yeah, Dave, on the USB camera, that's the first thing we tried, and when I pulled the plug and stuck it down there, either his USB camera or mine, the little bore sight camera, were too long to be able to turn any. I was able to just go straight down, and then I tried tweaking it to the left or right. We just couldn't see enough over to see the piston. And so yeah, when I saw somebody had the idea of using a a combination, one of those fuel pump gauges where you could read some positive pressure and vacuum, why yeah, that was the clue. It was pretty good, turning real slowly. Why of course you can't really discern the peak of the compression very well, but it's super noticeable once you come just a few degrees past the peak, and then boom, you see the piston drop, and the vacuum shows up, swings over. So right between the two is a sweet spot. So we'll see if it's a sweet spot when we fire it up and we end up with backfires out of the carburetor or not. But yeah, fun stuff, and it's just a whole lot harder to crawl around and work on it. But all right, well, I think Tom usually goes to that that vehicle swap meet. So maybe I may give him a call and on the landline and find out if it's worth the trip over there. Okay, with that, back up to Montague, W6AQU, and you success.
Okay, Ron. And you 6M, W6AQU. A bunch of interesting topics here. Too many to make comments on. Let's see. DCT. I'm not sure now what you're running for a transmitter. I thought they were running something at 25 watts. But now I think you mentioned you're running a DX400. So you might elaborate on that. Well, Mike, your signal actually sounds pretty good. It's still trying to be up early, and it sounds pretty good. SST, I think you made a comment about the Jason. And he used to be a regular on here, running a TCK, which I think is down in Livermore now, as I remember, Dave. TCK 7 maybe, or a 5. Well, there used to be, 2 or 3 of them on here. Wow, that was a long time ago. All right, Henry, on this new thing. Well, you kind of limited that to an ERP13 and that combination receiver that they use in the TVYs. So I don't understand that. Unless I guess a guy could have a civilian radio, a narco, or something like that. All right, well, I want to say my 7.3, but I will listen out for the comments. W6MQI. W6 Able, Queen Uncle. Good morning.
All right, W6AQU, W6MQI. Well, send me 3, Bob. Your signal is still hanging in there. Yeah, airborne dogfight. I guess that's a reason to get my command sets back up. They're actually all hooked up. I just don't have 28 volts available. I'm using that power supply to power my PRC 515. So I'll have to move it over there and get those back up on the air. I've been wanting to do that anyway. So that's cool. That's cool. And let's see. Yeah, my spectral purity on a GT7 can't be any worse than a GRC 106. And at least mine's pretty nasty. I don't know about yours. And Bob, yeah, I have the TCK7 of Jason's. And Steve, if you think about it, let Jason know that it's still up and running, working just fine. So on the transmitter, I forget what you call it now, the heavyweight shootout, you guys were including the trailer weight, it sounded like. Can I include the building my TCK7 is sitting in? That's got to be a few tons there. It's holding it. And Henry, the schematic I found seems to be just about right. It's got NC100A receiver listed on it, and like I said, it's everything seems to be jiving with it. So that's cool. I haven't worked on it all week. I've been busy with that remote antenna tuner I'm building. So, but I got this receiver for our winter project, so I'm just gonna take my time on it. And what else? And Steve, as we mentioned, yeah, I had some tree guys come a couple weeks ago and thin out 2 of my trees. One of them I got to fight getting a wire over it this morning, but luckily it's been trimmed back enough. I think it's not going to be too bad. I might even be able to, from the roof, throw a weight with a wire, string attached to it and get it over it. I don't know. I've got a child compound bow here that I use for shooting over trees and stuff. I don't want to use a big one around here and it's going through to the neighbor's house somewhere. But I use backwater beds to get over trees. And I have a specially designed arrow with a large blunt point because I don't want it to stick into the roof or something somewhere. But that works pretty good. It works pretty good. So then I guess I'm going to say 73 as well. I'll be listening out and kind of get on with my day here. Boy, I tell you, there's a capacitor, I think, going bad in this DCS receiver. It's throwing power and then it starts dropping again. So I'm going to have to look into that. So 73, everybody. And we'll send her over to Bill, N6BCT, W6MQR.
Okay, let me do a little frequency tweak. Well, you know what the heck, 3975 is just fine. I'll be better for 3974. W7MS to make it official, and good reception from all, and 73s to you, Bill, and the folks who have signed. And I forgot to comment, and Ron knows the answer to his question about Plymouth. I've been there, but Mr. Hosfield is the authority on strategy and which days to attend, so you'll have a wealth of advice. I had a similar conversation with Tom last year at Plymouth on the various strategies that can be applied to various days of the meet. So you're on your way, Ron, on that one. And congratulations. I had a feeling that on your return to North America there would be some forward activity with that piece of military equipment. So we're looking forward to seeing maybe Larry's YouTube video on Lucky Larry's YouTube channel. But other comments? Sorry to hear. Hopefully Chuck will be back on the official as the official NCS with the restoration of power. But Henry handled that very well, and it has happened in the past, and it probably will happen again in the future. And find on the shootout possibilities. I think from an aircraft standpoint, my gosh, I'm in heaven here. But then I'd be which one? Which one? And of course you're going to have you still got to fine tune the parameters. But I think of course I'll brag. I'm looking at the GP7. Directly behind that is the ATD 618T. ARC2, of course the ART13, and probably some other ones. Oh yeah, the Bendix 12 that's on the other side of the racks here. So it's oh my gosh, this is. I'm glad we have some time to give this some thought. But yeah, comments on Dave's GRC 106 issues. Yeah, I think mine is a tad cleaner. And maybe that's not necessarily, that's probably just pure luck, but I know that's a bone of contention between you and General Dynamics with the GRC 106s. Fine on projects and Steve's contact with the man who's currently residing in North Carolina, doing quite well. And I've heard some stories that he's things really worked out on that move from Camino there on Highway 50 for him. So that's great. And I think with that, I don't know if this is the 73 round, but I'm going to make it my 73 and say and listen out here. But just one final comment for Ron. He commented on the PRC 47. And stand by. I think you guys heard this last week. And Ron, they generate the 800 hertz note on CW, which of course would have been 1600 hertz with the original 800 hertz supply, just by lifting the filter capacitor on the plate supply to the 803. So go figure. But 7-3s from Reno. Over to Steve, W6SSP, W7MS.
Okay, Mike, very good. 73 for those materials that have signed. And this is to southeastern Georgia. It's near Kings Bay or something like that. I think that's where he works, is Kings Bay. There's a submarine installation there. Yeah, it was a good move for him. Every time we talk, he says two things. He's glad he's out of California, which I can certainly understand. And he's got a great job. He's told me a few things that he gets to do on submarines, and boy, that sounds like a heck of a lot of fun. And he gets paid to do it, too, which is always a bonus. Oh, let's see, what else? Oh, so many things to comment on today. Ron, I think you mentioned the military vehicle meet. I haven't been to the one in Plymouth, but they had one near here in Roanoke Park a few years ago. It's the only one I've ever been to, and boy, I'll tell you, I had a blast there. If you're into radios and cars, vehicles, trucks, that kind of thing, it's overwhelming, frankly. I just had so much fun, took so many pictures, and talked to a heck of a lot of people. Some were into radios, some were more into the vehicles themselves, but real interesting group of folks, and a ton of stuff for sale. Parts and pieces and cables and radios and stuff. None of it was cheap, but it was kind of fun to look at anyway. And Henry, you know, one thing, talking about audio quality of very simple modular sections like they're using in the 1625 rig you're using now, something I've noticed over the years, and after restoring quite a few transmitters, medium power transmitters, is the biggest difference I found is by changing the grid gauge resistor for the very first call-up stage. And some transmitters, I think the Johnson transmitters, they use 100K resistors for the grid lead. That's a pretty poor match for a crystal microphone, which are very high impedance. In many transmitters that I've restored here, I increased that to either 1 meg and in some cases 4.7 meg. And I may have done that to this 32V1. I don't remember, it's so long ago now. And I found that makes more of a difference to making broader band frequency response than changing coupling capacitors, which everybody seems to do. So if you're into restoring a rig and you want to do some experimenting, play around with that grid loop resistor on the first triode stage and see what kind of difference you'll see. I don't think that's widely known. I haven't really seen anybody talk about it, but in my experience, that makes a big difference. So anyway, guys, I'm going to say 73. I think this is a 73 round, but I'm not sure. But signals are fading a little bit. So I'll say 73 for now. See you all next weekend. And turn it over to Henry. WA7YBS, W6SSP.
Okay, Steve. Yeah, the input resistor, John put a 3 meg in there. And a static. In their old paperwork, when you go back to the 30s, when the D104 first came out, they recommend 5 meg. So, you know, I know Johnson. I don't know what they were thinking, but man, they really, well, I do know what they were thinking. 300 hertz roll off on the low end, and that's, you know, that's how they achieved it. So anyway, communication grade audio, I guess that was what that was, 300 hertz to 3000 hertz. Anyway, John threw that out the window and put a 3 meg as the grid resistor. So that might account for it. Well, certainly, yeah, it does. And I'm using a D104 microphone, so good match. Yeah, Bob, I know what you're talking about, and it's just that a lot of people have stuff and they don't really know that they have it, or they think about it a little bit later. You know, the first thing that does come to mind is, yeah, ART-13, but there's also BC-375s, and like Dave mentioned, the ARC 5 stuff. And there's just a lot of it out there, a lot of different stuff. I'm planning on using the GF11 and the RU16, real glutton for punishment, you know. And so, and if not, if that proves to be just, you know, not enough, then we'll run the BC-375. But at any rate, there's, you know, think about it. You probably have something other than an ART-13, but there's nothing wrong with an ART-13. 100-watt package, almost high-fidelity audio. How can you complain? It's a great transmitter, and the fact that it was airborne is just just a plus. So everybody's signed except Ron. So Ron, I'm going to shoot it over to you. Say you're 73 and turn it back to me, WA7YBS. Go ahead.
Okay, we miss you, Chuck. But, all right, good deal, guys. Great topics, and hope to hear everyone this next week. I did have one extra little bit of info on the TDE. I found that the museum shipped the North Carolina. I found an article from about 10 years ago when they were rebuilding their TD, and the woes of the motor generator. They had very similar everything, and yeah, had the generator rebuilt, put it together, and it didn't work. Sent it back to the motor shop again. So yeah, it's more wrench work than radio work on some of these. And okay, Mike, I got the message on the why we didn't hear the tone. So you can probably switch it over and give me an MCW after the net. Okay, guys, thanks a bunch. Catch you guys next week, and use success. 73s.
Okay, Ron, WA7YBS right back. Let me check and make sure. I did get a phone call from Chuck. He has no power, so let's see if something's changed. K0DWC, did you get power back, Chuck? Doesn't sound like it. So, with that, thanks everybody for participating in the Vintage Military Radio Net, and we'll go ahead and close the net now. Appreciate it, and we'll be everybody back next week. And with that, this is WA7YBS, and I'll be closing the Vintage Military Radio Net and signing 73.